Hi guys. So one of the most common questions asked on the sub is where can I find a template, or where can I get a free template, or yeah. So what I'm going to do, there are templates online you can find or pay for, but they're extremely easy to make on your own, and you can make them exactly what you want. So I'm going to do a quick, well, we'll see if it's quick, but a demo on how to actually make a template in Adobe Illustrator. If you have access to Adobe Illustrator, great. If you don't, a lot of libraries have them, or maker spaces will have it installed on the computer, so you can go and use it there to do up your templates. So this is actually the second template I've done. The first one was done about half an hour ago, and I forgot to put the audio on. So here's take two. Hopefully it'll be a little shorter. So what we're going to do is start by opening a new file. We'll call it Demo 2. Now I assume most of you, I cut my stuff out on a laser engraver because it's a lot quicker than doing it by hand and more accurate. But I'm assuming most of you are going to do it printing it out on a printer and then cutting it out with a blade or scissors. So if you're doing that, you probably want to select letter size as your document size so it will fit onto a paper. I'm going to go with a bit bigger size just because I can. So I use millimeters because that is more compatible with my laser. So we'll do 400 mils by 300 mils as our document. Now what we're going to do is first for the wallet we're going to start with creating the main body. So we'll go here. If you hover over any of these, it's going to tell you what their function, their name is. So we're going to click and hold down there and select the rectangular tool. Now you can drag out your shape, or what you can just do is click and it will bring up the width and height. Now for the width, I think dimensions here aren't extremely important, and again you'll want to make them to suit your needs, but we're going to go with 230 here, and I think my height, what was that? I'm going to go with 92 millimeters. So that's going to give us our exterior. Actually, that's the size I want my interior body to be. We'll make the exterior a little bit bigger. I would go specific measurements, but for this sake, I'm just going to show you how to do something else. If you go close to a line, it's going to extend that line and show you that you've snapped to that actual line. So this is going to be in line with the top edge. So what I'm going to do is drag it down till I get in line with the bottom edge and it kind of snaps to, and then I'm going to drag sideways. Now, sorry, do that again. If you hold down Shift and you drag sideways, it will give you a square, and it will keep those dimensions no matter where you go, just in case that's important. So there's our second shape. And usually you make the exterior bigger, so when you fold it closed, the edges will line up. Now this difference here is something that you can play around with. I think I use around a little bit bigger than ½ an inch, but for the purpose of this demo, it's not that important. So next what we're going to do is we're going to select this path, and you see these 4 little corner dots that get pulled up. What they will allow you to do is adjust the radius of your corner. So if I click on that, it's going to bring up the transform window. You can also open this window by going here, selecting transform. Another window I use is the pathfinder window, or the align window. So you can bring those up. So what you do here, this little link here, this chain link or whatever it's called. I don't know the names of all the tools, but that's not important. We'll call this the linky button. So if you select that, it's going to link them all together. And if I adjust any one of these, I'm going to go with 1/4 inch roughly, which is 8 millimeters. If I select that, it's going to change all of the corners to round. If I don't want to do that, I'm going to Control Z to undo that. I can do one at a time. So if you only want to do some of the corners, it's only going to do one. So undo that, link it. I'm going to do 8, and then there we go. I can Move on to the next shape. We'll do the same. 8, and we have our interior and exterior pins. Okay, so right now this is a filled in shape. If I go over it, you can see that one is behind the other. So as you build shapes, they're going to get stacked in layers towards you. So what you can do is you can move around where those layers actually sit. So if you go to arrange, I can send backwards, which should in theory send it back one layer, or you can send it to the back if you have it on the front and you want to send it to the back of all the layers. So right now I can send it back and now it will be behind, and you see it looks like that. Now another option you have is taking away, so you see right now if I move this outside, you can see that's a filled in shape. If I go down here and select this little transparent icon, what it's going to do is take away the shape and just give you the lines, so you can see all the lines through each other. So I like to work with that most of the time. Now this button here, the selection tool, will select the whole shape. This is just going to select, it's the direct selection, and you can select individual. I'm holding down Control to select more than one, and you, oops, sorry, is it not Control? Shift. Okay, so there. So hold down Shift and I can select more than one, and then you can move around the points as you want them to. So if I want to extend the line, I can do it like this. I can drag it, or I can go up here and adjust the width of that box, and it's going to scale it, scale the width. Now what that's actually going to do is that's going to also scale this measurement here, so it's not exactly going to be 8mm radius as this one is. So just keep that in mind as you're making adjustments, that if you're using, if you're adjusting the shape that way, it's going to be scaling the shape and not adding, say, a measurement onto one side. If I want to make this wider, I can select those points and make sure you're on the direct selection. Select these points, and using the arrow keys I can move them over just by tapping. Now you go up to Edit, Preferences, General, and this is going to select your keyboard increments. I have them set to 1 mil, so for every time I tap the arrow key, it's going to move 1 mil. You can select that to whatever you want, if you want it less or more. But we will leave that there for now. Next, we'll create the interior pockets. Now, I like to use little lines to create spacers. Now, this will show you where the center is of the piece. If I want to create a space, let's say I want 15mm in between the pockets. We will type in 15 there, and it's going to make the line 15mm. Now I'm using shortcuts sometimes, but I just hit V there to reselect the selection tool. So you can kind of learn to memorize these shortcuts so you can make it quicker. So I move this around and I get it so it centers right in the middle there. Now I select the rectangle tool, and I'm going to go to the very top and just drag down until it aligns there. So now I have a rectangle. Oop, nope, that's not what I want to do. I want to align it to the edge of this line. So we'll go here, and that gives us that shape. I'm going to delete this now, and now by selecting this, I take off the link, and I can just turn the two outside corners around. So now, deselect and move. You can see we have this. That's for if you're making a hidden pocket. Now we'll go, so I'll select the rectangle and drag down. That might be a bit too high, so what I'll do is just drag it off here, and you can either select the two top points and drag it down, or you can adjust the height here. Let's make it 50 mils just for simplicity. we'll adjust just the bottom corner. Double clicking on that, you can we'll bring up the corners window here, and we can just it looks like I had the link on. I'll cancel that. Select the one corner. There we go. Okay, so now I can drag this back into alignment, and there's our pocket. Next, so we have the width, the width and the height. We know of that pocket, so I'm going to make another one. So we're going to go 115 by 50. And we have another pocket. Looks like this one's out of alignment. So what I want to do is I'm going to mess up the alignment here just a little more so we can see another function. If I select everything, excuse me, and go to the align window, I'm going to align everything to the left. So it's going to select these three shapes and align them all to the left side of the page. And then what I want to do is align to the bottom, which is this one, I believe. There we go. So now we have everything aligned correctly. So what I'm going to do here is create another line, and hold down Shift and drag it so it's going to stay horizontal. It will just be snapping to the 45 or horizontal or vertical. So we'll snap it there, and then we will go back to transform. I want it to be 10 millimeters long. So just zoom in a bit. So this right now is aligned with the top. What I want to do is just drag it over so it's aligned with the corner, and then I'm going to bring it down 10 mils, so 10 taps down. Okay, I'm going to copy, Control C, Control V, paste, grab the anchor, and see it aligns now with this piece here. So I can just go over to the edge, align it to that, or intersect it with that edge, and there. What I'm going to do right now is just delete that because I want to show you another function. So we'll do the T-slot. You wait here till it goes to the path that shows you the anchor point when you're hovered over, and just drag it down. It doesn't really matter. A lot of these things, the dimensions, you'll figure out what you like as you get better at it and as you do more iterations. But so yes, so that's the line. And what I'm going to do, just instead of copying or trying to redo that shape over here, I'm just going to group these two shapes. So we go to Object. Oh, sorry, no, we don't. Group these two shapes. I'm going to do Control G, which is going to group these two together, or you can go up to Object and Group. Now when I select one of okay, sorry, I did Control, I grouped it twice, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I hit Control G again, and now they're grouped together. So when you select one, it selects them both. So what I'm going to do is Control C, copy, and Control V, paste, and it gives me a second one. Now if I right click on the path, go down to transform, and then reflect, and the dotted line here is the direction it's going to reflect in. So I'm going to reflect it vertically, which is, I know it kind of seems like you think I want to reflect it horizontally, but just look at the dotted line to give you the idea of which way it's going to go. So we go there, and then I can select this and align it back there. Now this, excuse me, another really cool tool, which I'll show, actually I'll show that later. No, I'll show it now. So what we do is select everything, This is called the Shape Builder tool. What it lets you do is cut out chunks. So right now I have all those pieces. I can either go in manually and click off it, double click on the path, and I can delete that line. These two objects aren't grouped together, so they're not the same shape, but I can Control G, group everything together. And yeah, anyway, we'll get back to that. So if I select everything, go to the Shape Builder, what I can do is by simply dragging around, it will cut shapes out. So if I wanted to cut this shape out, I'm just dragging through the lines. So undo that. If you want to cut out an exterior chunk, you can hold down Alt, and then you drag through the section you want off. And there we go for that. So now we have our T-slot, and we can drag that back over and align it up to this line, which it should snap to. Sometimes it's easier. Ooh, sorry, I'm going to group this whole shape. Object, group. See if that works. There we go. So I deselect, I'm going to select the corner anchor point, and it should align to this. It's centering now, but it's essentially the same thing. And then we will. Sometimes it doesn't align to the lines you want it to, so you have to select a different line. So we'll align it right there, probably because it was initially copied from that sheet, maybe. And we're just going to go up 10. So that's what we have now. If you want to see what it kind of is going to look like, I can go back to the solid shape, and then I'll select this part, arrange, and bring to the front. So now that's what it's going to look like, because these are the different layers. So we'll go back to transparent, and we can select that, copy, paste, drag that shape over, see if it aligns. No, it's not going to align there for me. Okay, here's one more little thing. If you see the arrow right there, it turns white. What that is going to do, it's indicating that it's going to attach it right to another anchor point. So to make sure you're actually on an anchor point instead of just really close. Like if I go over here, when I'm zoomed out, let's pick a better one that's on top. When I'm zoomed out, it might look like I'm close, like that, but I'm not actually on it, so when you zoom in, you're going to be off. If you select it and that hovers white, it means it's actually going right on the other anchor point. So I'm going to tap up, and there is our wallets, basically. So I selected everything there. To deselect, I hold down Shift, and it will deselect that shape. I'm going to Control Copy, Control Paste, and then Transform, Reflect, 90, Vertical, and there we go. And then we can just align this one up by dragging, and it should sort of snap into place. You can also align the stuff through here. And that's basically it. And then if we go back to solid shape, actually select everything. When you get the question mark here, that just means that different shapes here have different values assigned. So some might be solid, some might not be. So it'll give you a question mark, which means it can't display what they actually are because it's more than one. So if we go to solid here, click that, it's going to show you. Now you can see these are in the wrong place, so we can send these to the back, or send these backwards. Arrange, send backward, not far enough back, so we will I undid that, but I should have just, so you can object, arrange, send backward, and then we're going to send it backward one more layer. And there we go, they're in the right layer. And so when you go to print out your wallet, you don't need to print out multiple pieces necessarily. So if we only need to print out 2 of those, you can go here. I'm going to transform, I'm going to rotate it, and we'll just rotate it 90 degrees. And this, you can just arrange it on your sheet of paper so it will print it out. And this is the other shape I wanted. I'm going to transform. You can also select this, and I think you can rotate it here. If you hold down shift, it's going to snap to the 45 and the 90. You can do it that way, whichever you prefer. And then basically that's it. We don't need this because it's duplicates. And then you can send that off to the printer, making sure, obviously if you're printing on a printer, you want to make the original file a letter paper, and you would then, what you could do if it doesn't fit onto all one letter paper, do a bigger document and then create a second file, new document. We will go this one, letter, and then it's going to bring up a letter size. We can go back here and we can select a part. I'm going to copy it, Control C, go on to the other one and paste it. So you go transform, rotate, and then you can fit it on your sheet to print it out, arrange it, and then send it to the print. So we'll go back here just for exporting. You want to go save as. I'm assuming, I'm not sure what your uses are, but I would save it probably as a PDF, and that would print out instead of an AI file. It will be easier to print. You won't need to do any converting, and that should be it. Now I'm going to show you one more thing. I had this idea this morning for doing a card wallet as I was at the dentist with my son. So the nice thing about doing stuff on Illustrator is you have a lot of precision. You have the snap tools. You don't need to have your ruler and make sure your lines are perfect. And you can do quick changes and tests of templates. So that's the huge benefit I see in using Illustrator, is just when you're doing multiple iterations, it's fast and easy, and you can test out things without actually putting them on paper, cutting them out, and seeing how it works. So what we're going to do is start a new document. Letter's fine. I'm going to do a rectangle, just drag a rough shape of what I want a vertical card holder to look like. What I was thinking of doing was a heart-shaped card holder. So what I'm going to do here, select my ellipse tool. Actually, first what I'm going to do is do a line. So I'm going to go up here till I get this exact height. I can drag it down till it snaps, or I can select with my direct selection, double click. Well, anyway, it will show me the height, and I can have the exact height. I can use that value, but copying, pasting, or using the align tools is easier to get the right height. So we've got the height there. I'm going to snap it there and go over 5 mils. Actually 4, yeah, I'll go 5, but usually around 4 mils, somewhere around there is what I use my line, my stitching line for, so we'll go 5. I'm going to copy, Control C, Control V to paste it, and then we'll do the same here. Okay, and so that is the area I don't really want to work in. I want to kind of keep that for my stitching space, so I don't want my design to go onto that. Select the ellipse tool, go here until it shows me the center, because I want to make 2 that are centered, and I'm just going to drag until it gives me a little snap to right there. That's the size of my ellipse. So let's go, and I'm going to bump this up a little, somewhere around there. Now what I'm trying to do is make a heart-shaped card holder with I like to mess around with the shapes and of the card slots. Some of them end up being functional, some of them end up not. They just go in the bin. but I'm going to copy, paste this shape, hit V to go back to my selection tool. I'm going to line that right there. Now what I'm going to do is take a line, align it right to the anchor point there, and drag it down to a line in the center. So what I want to do is have an intersect right in the middle. There's a couple ways to do that. I'll quickly show you one way. If you want more points. So when I draw out this shape, we've got it right there. We select it. It's given me these paths. You don't always actually. I think if we go like this, we create it that way. Okay. Anyway, sometimes you won't get the center parts there. Okay, sorry. Select A. Okay, see, right now I don't have any points in the middle. I want a point right in the center. That is going to show me where the center is. So what I can do is go up to Object, go to Path, go to Add Anchor Points, and that will add an anchor point right in the center. Now, one thing I forgot to show on the last one is that if I'm creating a card slot and I want some different shapes to the card slot, I can add an anchor point, and then what I'm going to do is go to Object, go to Add another anchor point, and that's going to add an anchor point in the middle of every anchor point. So you can keep doing this till you get as many as you want. You can delete these anchor points. I'm going to hold down this tool, delete the anchor point, and then just select and delete them if you don't want them. But I select my direct selection tool. I'm just going to select drag over that point, and you can see I can move just this one point around now. I'm just going to tap it down. And then you can make shapes like that for your cards if you want them to come down. Now another really cool adjustment is this little round radius point or whatever it is. I used it for the outside corners, but you can also use it for creating curved parts to your card slot. So if I want to go with this, now usually I just mess around with values, but see if I go 8 here, it gives me a really small curve, but so normally you're going to put in a bigger value, so I'm going to try 50 for the radius of that curve. So then you can select this one here. We'll do 50 again because I like that size. And then so instead of messing around with handles and trying to get, I think I did 5 there. Messing around with handles and trying to get exactly the same, what I'm referring to here is if you hold down this anchor point tool and you select a line, it will give you handles when you drag on a piece. And some people try to make curves using the handles, but if you're trying to make curves look good together, it's kind of hard to get them to look perfect, and especially if you want to reproduce, it's impossible to reproduce them on the other side without copying and pasting them. So yeah, that's how handles work. But using that radius tool to define how round you want an edge, it gives you a really even, consistent edge. So kind of yeah, so that's how I do my card pockets. Now the reason I wanted to show you that is because I want to intersect, have an intersection in the center of this line. So I'm going to go back up, Object, Path, Add Anchor Point, and now I will get one exactly in the center. Now I might not actually use it in the center, but that was just a function I wanted to show you. What I'm going to do, now obviously it's not in the center anymore, but it's not important. So we're going to go back and select this tool here. Now the reason I added the center point is I want to make a heart, but if I pull it there, I get a heart shaped like that. If I wanted, actually that's kind of what I want. Actually I'll just continue forward with this method. I was going to show you a different way to do it, but that's not important. So so now here we have the half the heart. I'm just going to copy and paste. Okay, we will select this, copy, paste it, and then I'm going to reflect it again. And the reason I copy and paste it and reflect is because it will be very hard to actually reproduce this curve over there just by eyeing it. So it's a lot easier just to copy and paste. Let's go there. Okay. Actually, I'm going to grab the other corner just to make sure I'm right on the tip there. So you see there it turns white. That means it's joined. Now what I'm going to do is draw a line across right through the center. It shows me where the center is. Hold down Shift and it will keep the center aligned. Or it will keep it in a straight line. So I'm going to delete that. So there's my basic heart shape. Now obviously I can't use that, but if I go over and use the shape builder, I can cut out these shapes and we get that. Now I want to cut out this shape, cut out that shape, cut out that shape, cut out that shape, and there we're a lot closer. I hold down Alt and cut out the exterior line and do it again. And there we have what the card holder would potentially look like. Now I haven't figured out exactly how I want these edges to be. Obviously, well, let's show you what I'm thinking here. So what I'll do is copy and paste that. So we have two. And actually, I'll just select this, use the Align tool, and align them to the top, which is right here. Oh, so they blew apart. Actually, that looks neat. But they blew apart because I didn't have them grouped. So if I Control G group that, select Control G group this, then select everything in a line, they should pop up correctly. Did I group everything? Actually, anyway, now let's see what happens. Realign them. I don't have them grouped properly. Sometimes this takes a little messing around with. Oh, sorry. Control G. And then let's see if this works. No. Alright, well I'm obviously doing something wrong, but I can... Sometimes you have to go object and group them all. So I have the two now, and what I'm just going to do is cut them into the individual ones, select everything, select my shape builder, and then I'm just going to cut out what I don't want right there. And then I'm going to cut out, select the stuff we want to affect. And then we will select the shape builder again. You can do the shortcut Shift M. I never seem to remember that. And then we're going to cut that out, and then we're going to cut this out. So there would be the shape of my pocket. There are my pockets. And then if I want the overall shape of the backing piece, I can and those would be the three shapes that I cut out for the one side. And then when I stack them on top of each other, in theory, when I build my wallet, that is what it should look like. This would be one pocket here, this, and this one. For some reason that kind of looks off to me. I didn't do my cylinders. They must have been misaligned. You can see here, this one is not in line with that one. I actually did it earlier somewhere else, and it was aligned right there. So that's what it looked like in the end. So yeah, sorry this dragged on, and it's my first tutorial, so I'm not sure what you'll get out of it, but again, ask on Reddit, or you can yeah, just go onto YouTube or just search the net if you have specific questions about Illustrator, there's a video for every single little function, which is how I learned them all. How do I move a corner point? How do I line? There's a video for every single thing you want to do, but I just wanted to give you a quick idea of how to make a basic wallet or card holder and do a little more complex design. And that's basically it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, keep at it.